Welcome to the I'm a Busy Guy show. My name is Vince LoCascio, and I have a really busy guy here today. His name is Anthony J. Fornelli.
Nice to see you, Vince.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for allowing me to be on your show. I've heard a lot of good things about it.
I hope so. Some of them are true.
Well, I'm sure most of it is.
Yeah. Most importantly, what I want to lead off with, and which we'll come back to later, but what I want to talk about is that you're the founder of the Italian-American Veterans Museum at Casa Italia, as well as one of the founders of Casa Italia itself.
That's true. The Veterans Museum was a work of love. When I was down and out and with trying to raise a family, my uncle took me in as an apprentice carpenter. He didn't have enough money to go around for himself and take care of his family, but he sacrificed that I could get an education. He had been a Silver Star winner at Guadalcanal during World War II. And
his name is
Orlando, James Orlando. And so I conceived the idea of having a Veterans Museum in honor of my uncle. And that's what we did. Nice. Today, it's open for people to come and see us. It's one of the best things that you can ever imagine. Anybody who wants to come and bring a group of people, we open it up to them at Casa Italia.
Nice. Well, let's back up a little bit on your elaborate career of many things that you've done. You're retired as an attorney, but you were practicing as an attorney.
I practice, and I'll be getting a certificate next week at 50 years in the practice of the law.
Congratulations.
And I decided a couple of years ago that I would just rather be my own client. And maybe that's foolish, but I represent myself in a couple of businesses that we have.
And along the way, you're a lobbyist for the financial and real estate industry?
I have been involved in the check cashing and the loan business for a long time, and I'm their lobbyist.
Something else on your resume, if you will. You were vice chairman of the Chicago Plan Commission, but also zoning board of appeals for the city of Chicago?
The Plan Commission takes care of a number of the landmarks in the city of Chicago. I had left the state of Illinois as the director of financial institution, and the first Mayor Daley appointed me to the Plan Commission. It was a very enjoyable period of time, but it was more esoteric than practical. I left that position and became a member of the the Board of Appeals, the Zoning Board of Appeals. That was very satisfying because we could do good things for a lot of people who wanted to improve their home, enlarge it, rather than move out of the neighborhood. And because of the restrictive zoning laws, we were able to say, we'll change that for you.
Is there any accomplishments that you're proud of during that time?
Well, I suppose showing my Italian-American heritage, somebody came before the board wanting to put a museum downtown, a Capone Museum. I thought that was rather foolish and certainly against everything I stood for.
Yeah.
We were able to cross-examine the young man who wanted to do the job. What were his credentials? None. Did he ever go into a museum? No. All he wanted to do was sell crime.
Which would more and more enforce the case of that's all Italians are known for.
Correct.
Which we don't want to happen.
And that's what has led me to foster the writing of literature. In 1973, we opened up, as a member of UNICO, the national organization, we opened up a award for writers. It was said at that time that Italians didn't buy books because they didn't read them. And the number of Italian authors was rather sparse. Today that's been changed, not only because of us, but the times have changed. Now you have Scottoline and Baldocci, people with Italian names writing about Italian-American experiences. That's important, and it's something that I think we're rather proud of having been a part of.
You know, also along the way, there's too many to mention, you know, within the time span that we have, but there's a few organizations that I know you're proud of to mention. If you could tell the people that don't know what the Justinian Society is?
Justinian Society is a group of lawyers, Italian-American lawyers. I was president in 1969, so that's a long time ago. I'm now one of the older gentlemen in the group, and I'm glad I'm still here.
Nice. And the Joint Civic Committee of Italian Americans?
That was a group started, and it still is in existence, to bring together all the Italian-American organizations under one umbrella. They've done a very nice job of positioning themselves as the spokespeople of the Italian community. And that's exactly what we want.
And Joanne Soprico, who has been on my show, mentioned that the way she phrased it, that the Joint Civic Committee is the organization and Casa Italia is the place.
Casa Italia is a place. There are a number of organizations that rent space, contribute to the upkeep and the renovation of Casa Italia. Casa Italia is a 17-acre parcel of land that was owned by, and it's still owned by, the Scalabrini fathers. They used it as a seminary until about 20 years ago, when the number of priest candidates dried up. They had no more further use for the property. We took it over about 10 years ago. Ron Turano of Turano Bakery, Paul Butera of Butera Foods,
Madeline?
Maslin, Gil Maslin, and Caputo, Pasquale Caputo and myself got together and put together a group that would take it over on a 30-year lease. We thought that would be enough time, but the people in the community weren't exactly...
It's in Stone Park.
It's in Stone Park on Division Street. People in the community weren't exactly over-thrilled by it because we had recently lost Villa Scalabrini to the Catholic Charities. We built it, we made it, and funded it for many years. It became an albatross. Catholic Charities took it over, and we were left out. So we went back to the Scalabrini fathers, and to their dying credit, they gave us a 100-year lease, 99-year lease. We were in our 10th years of that lease and still going.
And we'll have it up on the screen where it's located and the website for it.
17 acres in Stone Park at 3800 Division, Stone Park, Illinois.
Another organization you're a member of, tell me please about the Italian-American Political Coalition.
During the redistricting of congressional seats, we lost Frank Annunzio and Marty Russo to redistricting in order to accommodate other ethnic groups. And it turned out that then we had no representation. We felt that was incorrect. Over the years, there's only been one Italian-American voted into a statewide office.
It's Jerry Cosentino.
Jerry Cosentino was the treasurer. It seems that they were able to win elections in conclaves where Italians were predominant, but overall, we couldn't make it. So the coalition was formed by a group of people, Leonard Amari, myself, Richard Caifano, a number of others, to get that together. And they've done some good things. They're moving right along.
And it's going strong now. And then there's people looking for their endorsements. And not only do they endorse just because somebody's Italian, but other groups that would represent us the best.
They have like thinking, exactly.
Very nice. You're chairman of the St. Ignatius alumni?
I was born around Taylor and Aberdeen. Moved away to the Great West Side, Chicago Avenue and Kedzie and Crawford. And then went back to high school.
Or as they used to say, Chicago Avenue.
Chicago Avenue, that's about right. It was very Italian, but most people forget that there were other ethnic groups in that area. We had Swedes, Jews, Poles, and Germans. It was a real kind of mixture of people, predominantly Italian though. But I went back to St. Ignatius High School, and it's been my belief that they helped me a great deal as a young man. I think people should realize that the character of a young man is molded from the time he's in 8th grade to high school. By the time he gets to college, he's already got his mindset as to what his character is going to be. He may not know what his career is, but he knows what his character is. And I have come very close to the people at St. Ignatius and have fostered that school to where I think it's the best school in the city.
Nice. And you should be proud, I believe, that there's a lounge, a student lounge named after you?
Yes. They named the Alumni Lounge after me, and I'm very proud of that.
Nice. To walk through a few points of Casa Italia, as you mentioned, it's 17 acres. It's actually a beautiful, beautiful place to see.
Casa Italia is the home of a number of Italian organizations. We hope it would be the home of all the Italian organizations. That's one aspect of it. The Fra Noi is made there, it's edited there. The Joint Civic Committee has an office there, the museum is there, the cultural center, the library. Our library, we feel very strongly, has the best and the greatest number of books involving themselves in the Italian-American history. That's the other aspect. Not only do we make them the home of all of the organizations, we want to make it a place where scholars, book writers, educators can come and find what they're looking for. We want to foster those people who write about the American experience.
Well, truly, we have a historian, Dominic Candelero, who's written a few books already about the Chicago experience for Italian Americans.
Dominic has been a professor of Italian American studies for longer than I can remember. And they did this Chicago, Italians in Chicago.
Came to Chicago, yeah.
And he's been involved in that. But we were trying to get it even greater. We need more help for Dominic. He needs people to do volunteer work. Give him a call, he'll put you to work doing something.
Nice. He makes us all proud, as you do, obviously. Besides that, like you mentioned, the library, but now there's banquet facilities.
There are. We're not fully up and running yet with that, but we have a small restaurant on premises that is open to the public. We encourage people to come and look at the artwork, the artifacts, study in the library, take the Italian classes that are given there and in other locations.
Yeah, for children and adults.
Right. Something we're kind of proud of, the library and the Italian Cultural Association is going to put on a series of lectures starting in January, the second Thursday of every month for the next 5 months. The opening lecture is about how many governmental units we have in the state of Illinois. I bet you'd be flabbergasted to know there are 6,000 to 7,000 governmental units. Do we need that many? I don't know.
No.
The gentleman who's going to speak, Lou Vitullo, an attorney with Wildman's office, is going to make the position that we don't need that many.
I know also things that takes place there, some of the festivals.
Again,
always fun. I mean,
those are fun times. There are religious aspects to we have these festivals that honor patron saints of these little towns in Italy. And that is the culture of our people, that they still do those things.
Yeah.
With assimilation and even revisionist history, much of that is going to be gone unless we preserve it somehow. And that's the mission, one of the missions of Casa Italia.
Yeah, I mean, pass it on to the next generations. That it's everything that took place centuries ago gets continued on, and that our future generations know about that kind of stuff.
And we now have a demarcation of the people who came here between 1890 and 1920. That was the area of the big immigration until after World War II. So we still have people who have ties to the old country, first and second generation. What happens when you get to the third and fourth?
Yeah.
They're going to forget. And it's my hope and desire that Casa Italia would be the catalyst with the library and the museums that we have there that'll tell the story of what went on here in Chicago and the Midwest during this period of time.
Yeah, it goes on and on. I mean, there's Mass every Sunday in Italian.
That's true.
Which is really nice to
we just got back. Father Fecci was one of the founders of the Italian Cultural Society. We sent him out for seasoning in Vancouver and British Columbia. But he's back and feisty as ever,
yeah.
And we hope we can increase some of the religious activities at the Casa.
There's bocce courts.
Yeah, that was one of the first things we put in, and I'll tell you, it drew a lot of people. It's amazing how
They have tournaments, I know.
Tournaments and good times. We're planning a couple of more for this summer.
And summer camps I know they have for children?
The children are the ones we have to influence. And they've put together a couple of summer camps. Josette Weber is a leader in that regard, and she's done an excellent job.
Nice. Well, how did you get, you kind of did explain how Casa Italia came about, but you pushed for the museum that, I want to talk about a little bit in detail. You pushed for that, the inspiration of your uncle brought that about, that you wanted to do a war museum?
That's
a Veterans
right.
Museum?
We were selling that idea for about 3 years, and it didn't come about. Uncle died, and I said, that's it. It's going to go or it isn't going to go. Mm-hmm. And we started funding it, and it caught on. I see you have a book there.
Yeah, well, we'll talk a little bit about it. It's a documentary that Anthony was the executive producer of.
Executive producer meant I went out and got the cash to do it. That's about as artistic as I am. But 5,000 Miles from Home is a compilation of interviews that Jim DeStasio took of 30 people, men and women, who had been in World War II. He realized that there were 3 separate phases to this thing. These young people, Italian Americans, were products of the Depression. They were coming out of a depression in the 30s. They moved into the 40s. They had lived in ghettos all that time, Italian enclaves. They went out into the world, got that experience, and came home and moved to the suburbs, went to school on the GI Bill of Rights, and became a part of the American fabric. The story of 5,000 Miles from Home weaves that theme throughout its place. We're glad we did it. Since we did that film, 6 of those men have died.
Oh.
And if we don't get it down
it's
quickly,
documented now.
Now it's documented. It was so good that it won 2 Midwest Emmy Awards. Jim DeStasio and Paul Basil for writing, and we also won the best sound in the documentary. So we're kind of proud of that.
Yeah, it's obviously it's because it's Italian too, but it's a great American story.
Exactly. And it's not just a Chicago story. You think about it, the people were those that we could get to real readily, but it was universal. Unico National, a service organization of Italian Americans, very predominant in the East Coast, funded that. And when they got the finished product, that's New Jersey.
Yeah.
That's New York. That's Pennsylvania. It was universal.
I think something, I believe, I know it was mentioned there, that a lot of people don't realize. They'll think that just the Italian Americans were involved starting in World War II, but it goes all the way back to the Revolutionary War.
Well, certainly. The Revolutionary War produced William Paca, gave us the phrase, all men are created equal, that kind of, a good friend of Thomas Jefferson. And there were people of Italian extraction who funded the revolution. It goes all the way through to the Civil War when Garibaldi brought his troops here to fight for Lincoln and for freedom. Most people don't realize that in World War II, the Italians were coming of age, and almost 10% of the armed forces were of Italian extraction. 10%.
Yeah.
And they all went, some of them to fight against their cousins in Europe.
Well, I know in the documentary, too, it talks about how, Mussolini, the American people as general were like, oh, my God, they're Italians, they're not bad, but we were the ones fighting the war for America,
Well, Mussolini had a great deal of impact on the Italian Americans early on. The Italians who just come from there realized that he was doing some good things in infrastructure, some bad things otherwise. And so there was a conflict. Either you liked him or you disliked him. Mm-hmm. And most people tried to stay away from that. Do you remember when Italo Balbo, the history of the first transatlantic flight from east to west of an armada of planes
Landed in Chicago. Right?
Landed in Chicago by a gentleman by the name of Italo Balbo. Big celebrations. It deteriorated from there. It got so that my mother would not allow Italian in our home. So I didn't speak Italian. My father argued against it, but my mom won out.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's the reason why in our house they didn't speak it, but it was either they wanted to be Americans,
right,
or they would speak it when they didn't want you to understand what they were saying. And it's it's unfortunate for the people like myself that didn't get to learn it, because now I spend the rest of my life trying to learn it.
I would suggest that there was one mistake my mom made. There's the only one.
Yeah, the many guns.
Yeah.
Another thing that I know, I'm sure you're proud of, is the Fra Noi newspaper that you're the publisher of.
I'm the publisher, but the real credit for this growth from a house organ of 4 to 6 pages to 128, 156 pages now goes to Paul Basil. He put it together. He writes for it. He gets the writers, and he sells the newspaper. We're very proud of it. It's the one link that people have in the Chicagoland community.
It's a wealth of information for events, calendar. I mean, for my show in itself, I refer to it all the time.
You'd be surprised where people come up and say, I saw this in the Fra Noi. Oh, yeah, that was on page 92 or something.
Yeah.
But they got there.
Yes, they did.
They
Our
got
directions. I think, something that I think that you should get acclamation for, and that you did, but talk a few about the awards that you received Man of the Year for, and maybe walk through some of those.
Well,
the Italian Political Coalition Lifetime Achievement Award, which we talked about that organization.
I had helped start the thing, and they gave me an award. It was nice. I'm very appreciative of those things. You like to be recognized for what you do, but, well,
I think future generations will look to you and thank you for that.
That is, let me digress here a little bit about a wall of honor that we have at the Casa Italia.
Thank you.
There are those people who said, what are you doing this for? I said, because they deserve it, first. And secondly, they're role models for other people. If you put up these people as pillars of society, somebody else is going to come along and say, gee, I can do that too. And that's the most important part of it. Here is, we put the first woman in our 3rd year.
Phyllis Muccianti.
Phyllis Muccianti. Widowed mother and her daughter come to America to find their fortune. Mama goes out and works 2 jobs while the girl, 9 years old, takes care of the house and goes to school. She graduates and goes to a job with Sears Roebuck and develops on a packaging system. Today she employs 250 people. Started out with $1,000. Left a secure job, took $1,000 on her kitchen table, and started this company. Now, isn't that a success story?
Yeah.
Why can't that be emulated by other people? They won't know about it unless we tell them. Like I said, we're losing that zeal, and we've got to tell these stories. They've got to be captured before it's too late.
Well, getting the word out, because we talked about earlier about the guy that wanted to open an Al Capone museum, and that would just enforce what, the bad things that people think about Italians. The Hall of Fame itself, Casa Italia, gets the word out to show people that there's so much to be proud of.
There's no doubt about it. You're
Yeah.
absolutely right. What we want to do is invite anybody who wants to come to Casa Italia to let us know. We'll entertain a group or 2. And I admire you for bringing me on the show to say something about this, because there are a lot of people that don't know it exists. We've got to reach out to as many people as possible.
And get the word out.
Get the word out.
So, and they can locate it at Casa Italia, I believe it's on the screen, CasaItaliaChicago.net.
.net.
And in the Fra Noi, all the events are there. I mean, the Columbus Day Parade this year was phenomenal. It was just a great experience. I brought my kids down there to see it, and it's just, there's so much to be proud of.
We've been involved with the Columbus Day Parade for a long, long time. It keeps alive the idea that there's a united community of Italian Americans. Some people say, why a parade? Because it puts the Italian image in front of people. Everybody likes a parade.
Yeah.
And everybody waves a flag.
On a positive note, too, you know, all the things
Sure.
that can be seen on TV and movies and all that. I don't want to reiterate it again, but that we got to get that pushed way to the back burner and not something that people are going to know about all the time.
And the only way we're going to do it is by gaining all the books, all the films, all the television programs, and keep them in a depository at Casa Italia. I hope we can do that, and let people know that they have a storehouse of knowledge there, that scholars can come and examine what we did. That's what Dominic Candelero is putting together. That's what the Cultural Center, the sculptures we have out there are worth a lot of money. They are by artists who are renowned in their fields, but not too many people know them. Everybody knows the Renaissance artists. How about the ones that are working today?
Yeah. Are there national organizations that, is that what the one you mentioned earlier?
Unico National is a service organization. Like I think I mentioned to you that it raised $450,000 in the past few years for the Cooley's anemia. But it also does scholarships and other mental health problems. And they had money left over to fund 5,000 miles away from home.
Nice.
I saw the people who you had on your screen. Contact us. We'd love to sell you one of the films for your own home. It'll do good for you, and it does good for us.
Yeah, and there's a series of them. I mean, there's also, and They Came to Chicago, which is a great documentary.
Correct.
Italians, and the series of books like we mentioned, Dominic Candelero. So I thank you for being on the show.
Well, I appreciate it.
Brought you a little gift. There's some cannolis.
Oh, it's just what I need. Look at me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well, on and on. Again, the awards you won: the UNICO, the Italian American Executives Transportation, the Gregorian Society.
Again.
Read Fra Noi. You want to know what's going on? This is it.
That's it.
And watch this DVD, and it's all there for you. So take advantage of it, and not just Italians. I think all Americans should know that we have a lot to be proud. Excuse me. Hello. No, I'm just finished. All right. Bye. I forgot I have an appointment. I gotta go.
You gotta go?
Yeah, I'm a busy guy, but you're the busier guy.
We can do this another half hour.
Yeah, no. I apologize. Well, we'll come back again. Will you come back again?
If I can find a place.
All right. Thanks for being at the show. I'm sorry I gotta leave.
My pleasure to be with you.
God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.